You open your eyes, and somehow you're wearing a US Marshal badge. Nobody explains why. Before you can even think, a radio clipped to your belt suddenly comes alive. Marshal, report immediately. They already believe you know exactly what you're doing. Would you admit you're terrified? Or fake confidence and hope nobody notices? Your heartbeat gets louder with every single step toward the courthouse entrance. Then someone behind you quietly says, "Good luck, rookie." That one sentence tells you everyone already knows you're brand new. Inside, dozens of experienced marshals stop talking the moment you enter. Then your supervisor points directly at you, and the entire room goes completely silent. You're riding with me today. Every eye stays locked on your reaction. You expected paperwork, not your first real mission before breakfast. Would you keep walking, even if every instinct told you to run? Your supervisor suddenly stops and hands you the mission folder instead of carrying it himself. You finally open the folder, and your stomach immediately drops. Your very first assignment isn't training, it's protecting a federal witness. You expected to watch from the sidelines. Instead, you're responsible for someone's life. Then the witness finally walks into the room, looking far more frightened than you. He whispers only 4 words, "They're still watching me." Would you believe him, or assume fear is playing tricks on his mind? Before you answer, every light inside the hallway suddenly goes dark. The emergency lights glow red, and suddenly every shadow feels like a threat. Then you hear footsteps, but nobody is supposed to be in this hallway. Your breathing slows, because panic won't protect anyone now. A security guard appears from the darkness. Everyone exhales at once, but your supervisor doesn't smile, because your mission has only just begun. Outside, 3 identical government SUVs wait, but only one is the real transport. Your supervisor smiles once, then asks, "Which vehicle would you choose?" What would you pick? The closest, the fastest, or the least obvious? Before you answer, the supervisor quietly shakes his head. "Good," he says, "because today, the safest choice isn't the obvious one." You point to the middle SUV, but your supervisor keeps walking past every single one. Then you notice, there's a 4th vehicle hidden around the corner. The decoys were never meant to fool criminals. They were testing you. Would you have noticed if nobody had shown you the hidden route? You climb into the hidden SUV, unaware someone is already watching from across the street. Your door closes, and your training officially becomes reality. The engine starts, but nobody says a single word for nearly a minute. Finally, your supervisor asks one unexpected question. Why did you hesitate? Because deep down, you were afraid of making the wrong decision, weren't you? He nods once. Good. Fear means you're paying attention. Just when you start relaxing, your supervisor suddenly changes the planned route. You quickly ask why, but he simply says, "Never become predictable." Imagine someone studying your every move. Would you ever drive the same road twice? Then the witness quietly points toward a blue sedan behind your SUV. Your heartbeat rises again, because you've seen that car before. You whisper, "That's the same blue sedan from the courthouse." Your supervisor doesn't even look back, and somehow that surprises you even more. He quietly asks, "How many right turns have we made since leaving?" You freeze, because you honestly have no idea. He smiles. Good agents never memorize destinations. They memorize everything. Then your supervisor asks, "What color was the mailbox we passed 30 seconds ago?" You can't answer, because you were only watching the blue sedan. Tunnel vision gets people into trouble, he says without raising his voice. At that exact moment, the blue sedan quietly turns onto another street. Was it really following you, or were you following your own fear? Then your radio suddenly crackles, breaking the silence inside the SUV. A calm voice says, "Route update. Continue to checkpoint Bravo." You wonder, how many backup teams are protecting this mission without you noticing? That's when you finally understand you're never working alone. Ahead, a secure checkpoint comes into view, and your next lesson begins. The checkpoint looks ordinary until you notice everyone is watching everyone else. Your supervisor quietly asks, "Who do you think is leading this checkpoint?" You point toward the loudest officer, and your supervisor smiles again. Leadership isn't always the loudest voice, he quietly reminds you. Then you finally spot one calm officer, watching everything without saying a word. The barrier slowly rises, but your supervisor doesn't drive forward yet. You wonder, why wait when the road is already clear? A delivery truck crosses first, exactly as your supervisor expected. Patience creates options, he says, while easing onto the road. You finally realize, every second has been another lesson in thinking ahead. Just when you think the lesson is over, your supervisor suddenly exits the highway. Did we miss the exit? You ask, but he quietly shakes his head. Predictable arrivals are easy to notice, he calmly explains. You suddenly notice, even the GPS route has completely changed. That's when you realize, flexibility is part of the mission too. The new route feels slower, but your supervisor seems even more relaxed. You finally ask, how do you stay this calm every time? He answers, because I never expect the day to go perfectly. Those words stay with you, longer than any training manual ever could. Then a sign appears, Federal Safe House, 1 mile. You expect a massive fortress, but the safe house looks completely ordinary. You whisper, this can't be the place. Your supervisor smiles. That's exactly why it works. Only now do you notice the tiny security cameras hidden around the property. The safest places aren't always the most obvious, and neither are the smartest decisions. You step outside, and the neighborhood feels almost too peaceful. Then you notice, every neighbor seems completely relaxed. Your supervisor quietly says, normal is sometimes the best protection. You suddenly realize, nobody here looks like they're guarding anything. And that's when today's biggest lesson finally clicks. Before anyone goes inside, your supervisor suddenly stops everyone. You instantly freeze, wondering what everyone else already noticed. Then you hear it, complete silence. Your supervisor smiles. Sometimes silence tells you everything. You nod, because now you're seeing the world differently. The front door quietly opens, before anyone even knocks. You blink. They already knew exactly when you would arrive. Your mission is complete, but your training definitely isn't. Your supervisor turns and asks one final question. What was today's real assignment? You answer, protecting the witness. Your supervisor gently smiles, then quietly shakes his head. Today's assignment was training you to notice everything. Suddenly, every lesson from today makes perfect sense. You smile, because today changed how you'll see every mission forever. But your supervisor isn't finished teaching you yet. He asks, what did you never stop doing all day? You pause, then quietly answer, watching. He nods. Exactly. Observation becomes instinct. For the first time, you truly feel like a U.S. Marshal. Then your supervisor asks, ready for tomorrow? You grin. More than this morning. He laughs softly. That's exactly the right answer. You look back once, before leaving the safe house behind. You realize, today wasn't about the destination. Every stop, every delay, every question was preparing you. Tomorrow brings another mission, but you're no longer the same rookie. Because now, you notice the details everyone else misses. And that is where every great U.S. Marshal begins. So tell us, what lesson surprised you the most today? And if you think today was intense, wait until your first fugitive search, because that's where every lesson gets tested for real. But today, you earn something even more valuable. Confidence built through patience, not shortcuts. And that's the lesson you'll carry into every mission ahead. Tomorrow starts another lesson, and you'll see the world differently, because every ordinary moment could hide your greatest lesson. Now imagine, what would you notice first? Comment your answer. I want to know what you spotted. If you enjoyed this POV, subscribe for your next day as a U.S. Marshal. See you on the next mission.